Well, guys, welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James. Obviously, please smash that sub and obviously keep yourselves all over the massive summer rebuild that is happening at the greatest club in the world. Well, we've got some some very strange comments from Fabio Silva now that he has left the club. I think possibly showing that celebration, the one was actually aimed at the supporters and not aimed at the media, as some tried to claim. We've got the latest on the Galdames deal. Is the Chilean about to come over to Ibrox? Is he about to arrive in Glasgow? We'll find out a little bit more about what is going on with Galdames and why I'm devastated about Abdallah Sima. My man Sima. My man Abda. Come on, Abda. Come home. You know you love it here. Well, anyway, let's start off with Mr. Fabio Silva. So, Fabio Silva, after he scored that goal against Killy, I think it was, or Dundee, anyway, it doesn't matter, did the whole comment, with the hands there, and at the time claimed that it was not aimed at the supporters, that it was aimed at the media. Although a lot of people did claim at the time there is no media in the Broom Loan, so how can it be aimed at the media? Surely he would have turned to the press box and done that if he was aiming at the media. Well, Fabio Silva's had some pretty harsh comments about Rangers, about his time at the club. Now, we'll talk about his comments. Well, we'll read his comments first, and we'll talk about the comments. And then I want to make some perhaps counterpoints that you perhaps wouldn't expect about Fabio. Anyway, let's get to it. So Fabio Silva said he wouldn't even consider returning to Rangers. Well, I don't think, Fabio, there's a lot of Rangers fans that probably wouldn't have your back. So, that's kind of a moot point, that, isn't it, Fabio? He says, I appreciate the fans of all the clubs I've been to because if it wasn't going well, I always got messages of support from Wolves, Porto or PSV fans. But at Rangers, it was different. They are so intense and passionate. It was hard to cope. I love the atmosphere in the Europa League game or the draw with Celtic, and that will live with me forever because as even in Portugal, I've never witnessed the level of noise in a stadium before. I mean, that's pretty accurate, isn't it? I mean, look, we are, as a group of fans, probably the most passionate, the noisiest, just the best fans in the world. And he's right as well that we are, as a fan base, very intense, very passionate, very much into our club. It is like our religion. We bleed red, white, and blue. We bleed Rangers wherever we go, and it's absolute world to us, isn't it? Of course it is. So look, that's quite true. But it's interesting that he says that that he got support in difficult times from PSV, Porto, and Wolves fans, whereas he feels quite clearly he did not get any support during difficult times from Rangers fans. He said, we won most games when I was there, but after just one or two defeats or even draws, I was getting thousands of messages of abuse on social media. If I posted anything, or if the club posted anything, including me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, the comment section was full of people saying I was useless or get out of this club. So I think it kind of puts a lie, doesn't it, to the fact that players don't read social media, players don't pay this slight attention. It's quite clear that they do. They do hear everything, they do see everything, they do find out everything. Geez, I'm in trouble with John Lundstrom if I ever see him. Anyway, let's carry on, and Tavern Goldson to some extent. Let's carry on with Silva's comments. So this is what he wants to say. He says, I'm a young man in a foreign country, trying my best, but for a large section of Rangers fans, that wasn't enough, as they hate to see their big rival winning titles, and I can understand that, but think they were unfair on me, as I was played out of position most of the time, and in most of the games played well. Right, I want to return to that point at the end. It's for that reason I would never want to return to Rangers. In fact, I wouldn't even consider it. I hope my next move is to La Liga, as I love the country, the culture, and think it will be best suited for me to do my development as a player. I wish Rangers all the best in the future, but I have no interest in returning to play there. Harsh words indeed from Fabio Silva for the club, saying that he's got no desire to return, that he doesn't want to play here again, that he wouldn't want to come back here. Certainly a change of tune from what he said earlier in his loan spell. I think, like I said, there's a lot of Rangers fans that will be quite happy to hear that. And I think there's a lot of Rangers fans that wouldn't want you back, Fabio. So, look, I think it's a bit mutual on certain levels. Now, I just want to return to a point that Fabio Silva makes in his comments. He says, I can understand that. So we can clearly, yes. I mean, we all feel that. We hate to see them winning titles, them winning cups. The standard is not acceptable at this moment in time. The standard of what this club is achieving at this moment in time is far from acceptable. It is unacceptable, wholly unacceptable. And obviously, we hope that this summer with Koppen and Clement, that change is going to come and the standard will be reversed. So he said, but I was unfair on me as they played me out of position most of the time in most of the games I played well. Right. I want to just come back to this. I've got to say on this point, I do actually agree with Fabio Silva. And I know a lot of fans won't agree with me on this, and that's fine because football's a game of opinions and we all have different opinions. I honestly feel that Silva was played out of position, partly out of necessity because of the injuries. We had little to no choice but to stick him on the left wing. And I understand that. And I understand why Philippe Clement did it. So I'm not criticising Philippe Clement in the slightest for playing him where he did, because he had zero choice at that time with all the injuries to Cortez, to Sima, to Matondo, to McCausland. You know, there was a situation where we had to play Silva out on the wing. So I get that 100%. But Silva is right. He was never really played or given a run of actually playing in his proper position. Now, I know certain fans felt that he was more a 10, he was more a, attacking midfielder, but you actually look at where he's been used for Porto when he was effective. Okay, it wasn't effective for Wolves, but he's said recently that he never wanted to join Wolves. He actually wanted to stay with Porto for another couple of seasons. And I think that, if I'm being honest, Fabio Silva's career has been badly mismanaged by clubs and by his agent. I'm hoping for his sake, I have no ill will towards the boy, that he does go on to get his move to La Liga and does obviously go on to succeed, and wish him all the very best. But like I said, I think he was played out of position to some extent. I think, if we had used him more in that striker role, and yes, he's not a conventional out-and-out number 9, but I think at times we need to kind of change our view of what a number 9 is. Change our view of what a striker does. Now you have the out and out strikers, the ones that stand up there on the last man, the Dessers, like Dessers does, like to some degree. I think another one Harry Kane does, like to some degree as well. Haaland does, but overall, you've also got to move away from that. You've got strikers that kind of play not as an out-and-out 9, but kind of, are more mobile. They work the whole back 4. They pop up in different positions along the back 4. They go out wide. They come in the middle. They go back out wide again. I think very much like Danilo does when he's playing. And I think something that Liverpool used very effectively under Jurgen Klopp when they had Bobby Firmino. I mean, it's something they didn't really manage to do this past season. But, when they had Bobby Firmino was very much in that kind of mold. He played in that 9 position for all intents and purposes on paper, but on the field, he didn't actually do that. He floated everywhere. He went out wide. He went in the middle. Now, I'm not saying for a minute that Fabio Silva is at the same talent as Bobby Firmino, because Silva is obviously a very young man still learning his trade. But I do feel that perhaps we did not treat him in the right way in terms of using him in his right position. I think he probably would have scored some of those chances that Des has missed. I would have trusted him far more to put the ball on the back of the net on a consistent basis. Those games against Ross County, for example, their game against Hearts, than certainly Cyril Dessers. But it's an interesting one in that comment, an interesting comment from Fabio Silva, certainly that's not going to endear him to Rangers fans with those comments. And, perhaps, like I said about Todd Canwell the other day, there's times when footballers perhaps need to learn a little bit of restraint and a little bit of, well, that's what I might be feeling and that's what I might be thinking, but I don't actually come out and say it. I don't actually write it down or say it or put it on social media, because it's just a big no-no. It's a big mistake. And it's also, I think, as well, could be a turn-off to other clubs and other club sets of supporters, because if they read players criticising other clubs and other sets of supporters, they kind of think, well, if he doesn't go straight away, is he going to start doing that here as well? And is he of the right character for us? And that's one thing that kind of counteracts him. And whilst I was sticking up for him over the position thing, I do think that this shows a weakness in his character, a weakness in his mentality. And I think he didn't cope with the pressure of playing at Ibrox, didn't cope with the pressure of the shirt. There's not all people do. We've seen that on a regular basis. Okay, so let's move it along, guys. We're going to talk a little bit about Galdames, and then we're going to get to a little bit of Abdallah, and I'm a bit gutted on this one. Okay, so the rumours continue to surround Thomas Galdames to Rangers. Galdames has indicated that he is anxious to leave, that he wants to come and play in Europe, that he wants to move now rather than December, a bit like the old Cifuentes, excuse me, a bit like the Cifuentes deal. So, Galdames is a left-footed player. He can play left side 10.5. He can play left back. So again, he's one of those hybrid players that can play in a number of positions. Very much, quick, young, speedy, strong. So he's, fits the mold of a Philippe Clement player. Now, speaking to the media recently, Thomas Galdames said, nothing is known yet. I have a contract until December. I've always dreamed of playing in Europe. I want to take this market calmly and be able to leave something for the club. I am very grateful to Godoy Cruz. Knowing that I have 6 months left, anyone hopes to go free, but I don't want that. If I could go to this market, the idea is to return one day. I love the club, the people, the city. They made me feel like one of you. My idea is to give back what the club did with me. So it's kind of a little bit of he wants to move now because he wants to give back. He wants to obviously secure a fee for the club. Whereas obviously in December he moves for nothing. All the money does go to him, which is a refreshing change for players. Players are often seen as mercenaries who move for money, mercenaries who are just looking after themselves. But it does appear with Galdames there's a bit of a difference in attitude. Now, this is all very positive and all very good. And hopefully, again, this is something that is, putting him out there as a player that we need to be taking an interest in, that we need to be pushing for. He's certainly in that market of 25 years old. He's certainly a promising player. He's certainly someone who can go into the team straight away, someone who could be flipped for money in the future, someone who has that rugged physicality Chilean players do. He's played in Argentina, a league well renowned again for physicality. So, would fit in well in Scotland. So for me, Galdames is someone that, this is a deal that we hopefully are pushing through. Now, according to reports in the media, Koppen is obviously at this transfer summit in Cancun. Like I said yesterday, Cancun, they always go nice places, don't they? Cancun in Switzerland, Cancun in Mexico, Gstaad in Switzerland, Mauritius. Like I said, it's never Fife, is it, or Salt Coats or Coat Bridge or anywhere like that, is it, for the old transfer summit, or Blackpool? So according to the reports, Koppen has met with Cruz. He's met with Godoy Cruz, the club. He's met with Galdames. Also, apparently, he has met with representatives of Galdames Garcia, the Uruguayan, from Penarol, the midfield destroyer. Certainly, again, someone that I hope that we are looking for. So it does appear that these deals are still on the table, that they are still being talked through, they're still being negotiated, and they are still being looked at by Niels Koppen. So that is a big positive for me. If we could come out of, say, this next week or these next couple of weeks with Garcia signed, Galdames signed as well, I think that represents a really positive start to the market for us. You've got obviously Liam Kelly, Hefter, Cortez, Galdames, Garcia. I think that's a great start to this transfer window, and certainly puts us in a place to really push it and really compete next season. Giving us young, hungry players. We're going to come in and make a real difference. And someone suggested the other day that that Celtic went across and they signed a lot of Japanese players and Korean players, and went for that sort of market. It appears that obviously we're looking at the South American market. So there's kind of why wouldn't it? Why can't this work for us? Why can't we look in a different market to them, find a core of players from an area, bring them in, and they go on to succeed? So hopefully that is something that is sort of going to work and going to help and happen next season. Now, the reports and the rumours around Abdallah Sima continue to swirl. Now, there's reports suggesting that Brighton are waiting till they appoint their new manager because of the departure of Roberto De Zerbi. And they will wait till their new manager's in place before they make any decisions on any of their players. Now, Brighton very much follow this trading model that we're trying to foster at Rangers. You've seen in the sales of the likes of Moises Caicedo, Alexis McAllister, for example, Roberto Sanchez. They've made vast sums of money on players. Cucurella, they've sold players and they've bought cheap and sold for huge profit. Now, according to reports in the English media, Brighton are looking to do that with Abdallah Sima, but it looks like they're on more dodgier ground because of the fact, obviously, that Abdallah is out of contract next summer. Now, there's a story doing the rounds down here in England that Brighton are looking for £20 million for Abdallah Sima. If that's true, I don't for a minute think it is. I think it is a lot of media talk, a lot of transfer speculation, a lot of rumour and counter rumour. But like I said, with Brighton, you never know. That is very much their modus operandi, to come in, buy a player for about 7-8 million, sell him for 20 million, 25 million, make those big profits. That's how they make their club work. And that's how we're looking to make Rangers work. You know, if he is a 20 million pound player, you know, I've got my doubts of him being a 20 million pound player, but you know, we certainly something we can't afford at this stage. You could get probably 4 or 5 players for that, which I don't think, you know, it is wise to spend 20 million. I will be absolutely devastated. I'm a massive fan of Abdallah Sima. I absolutely love Abdallah. But look, I think it could even be that they have reports that English Premier League clubs are interested. You know, if you've got Premier League clubs interested, then you can start to ask 15, 20 million, even of players in the final year of their contract. You know, we saw in the transfer window recently, Ross Stewart transferred from Scottish. Stewart, obviously, who's now injured yet again, in transfer from Sunderland to Southampton in the last 6 months of his deal for 10 million. So look, there's a whole different market down here in England in terms of, you know, what teams and clubs are willing to pay for players. So it could be that there are English Premier League clubs sniffing around Sima. So Brighton are trying to cash in 15, 20 million. If that's the case, it looks like it could be a Malik Tillman situation all over again. Obviously, he went eventually to PSV for 12 million, something that netted Rangers a 1.2 million pound windfall. But I personally would be devastated, obviously, if Sima doesn't come. You know, I love Abdallah Sima. I think he offers this team so much, plays wide, right, left, through the middle, quick, strong, knows how to finish, quality player. And I'd be devastated. But look, we move on. We have to move on. If we can't get him, we can't get him. I think, you know, the truth of it is probably somewhere in between in terms of that story about Brighton waiting and Brighton wanting a lot of money for him. I do think they probably will want a substantial fee for him, probably not 20 million, but I do think as well they are probably going to wait until their new manager comes in. But who knows? Who knows how the club is thinking down there on the south coast of England? Well, guys, let me know what you think of the stories we've covered in today's video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you can, please obviously smash that sub, help the channel to keep on growing. If you ring the notification bell, you'll never miss out on all the free videos here on the channel. Remember, if you want to support the channel, you can become a member, 99p, or smash the super thanks button. It's down below. Donate a little bit of cash to the channel. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, on the way out, and I'm sure you know what I'm going to say for those regular watchers, 2 things. Number 1, smash that like, beat that algorithm. And number 2, we are the people.